all over the shop and talk about it in villas and airports and everything. The fundamental argument is this, that yes, and let's call them babies, and let's stop arguing the metaphysical issue of when human life begins and all that stuff. Let's accept they're babies. And yes, these babies depend on the sustenance of their mothers to survive. And it is there is no other circumstances in human life where one person depends on another person, on another particular person to survive. And the problem, however, is that in many instances, the mother on whom the unborn child depends is often incapable of giving her own body to the sustenance of the unborn. For all kinds of reasons, maybe for psychological reasons, maybe because of terrible stress in her life, maybe because of cruelty in her life, or whatever. But we know that there are many people, many women, who just simply cannot, no matter how they feel about the body, the baby within them, just can't bring themselves, because of their circumstances, to give sustenance to that child until the child is independently viable. And yes, it is okay. By the way, men are never in that situation. And there are lots of situations where us men, and indeed everyone, can give sustenance to another vulnerable person but refuse to do so. For instance, it's possible for us to save the lives of maybe millions of lives elsewhere around the world if we were prepared to distribute our wealth in a very rich society to that part of the world. But we don't do so, just because it doesn't suit us or whatever. But in the case of a woman, she, under present laws, is required, irrespective of her circumstances, to give her body to the sustenance of another person, irrespective of the damage or the hurt or the trauma that might cause to her. And I think the case for repeal is that the woman must herself have the choice to determine, no, I cannot go on with this, for whatever reason, I just cannot do it. And the idea that the state should say, you must do it under pain of criminal sanction is an abomination. It's a terrible thing. And you have to take on the pro-life side on this absolutely frontally and say, yes, okay, let's accept this killing babies. Yes, it is, okay. But in this instance, the baby depends on the sustenance of the mother, on its sustenance from the mother, and in many instances, the mother simply can't give it that sustenance. And it's wrong to force the mother to do so, or to penalise the mother if she can't do so. And unless that case is made again and again, and hopefully more eloquently than I'm now doing, I don't think the repeal side will win the argument. If you don't confront the issue frontally, I don't think it is. And I think that the arguments against abortion essentially, or rather against women having a choice, it essentially derives from misogyny. That why should we allow women to decide whether another human being should be born or not? Without any regard, it's sort of regarding women as incubators. And that's all they are. And what the hell, just give your life give your body to the sustenance of this child, and that's it, and get on with it. It is essentially, I think, founded on a misogyny which infects a very large part of our lives in extraordinary ways and unrecognised ways. In my journalistic career in the last 14 years or so, 16 years, I've gone on and on about a report called the Savvy Report, Sexual Abuse and Violence in Ireland. And just the outstanding finding of that report was that 200,000 women are raped in the course of their lifetimes. Now, wouldn't you think this would regarded as maybe one of the primary issues in our society, and one of the primary issues that should determine our politics, or should preoccupy our politics. And yet, I don't think it ever gets mentioned. I don't recall any Dáil debate ever on the Savary report. Yet, people might challenge us and say it's not believable. Well, make that point and let the people who did the Savary report reply. Instead, the Savary report was funded by the Department of Health and the Department of Justice, and the people who did it were subsequently asked by the Catholic hierarchy to do a report on clerical abuse, which they did, which is a very good report too. But there's no reason to believe that this report isn't accurate. And incidentally, there's been a lot of demands that the report, that an inquiry be done again, but the government couldn't be bothered with it. But isn't there something strange about a society that just shrugs its shoulders when a report suggests, when an authoritative research a project reveals that 200,000 women have been raped in the course of their lifetimes in our society? Wouldn't you think that, like we worry about people being killed on the roads, and rightly so. We worry about people dying of suicide, and rightly so. We worry about people being killed in all other ways. But surely, 200,000 people being raped in the course of their lives, by the way, 60,000 men as well, 200,000 women, 60,000 men, wouldn't you think this would be the major feature? And the reason it isn't a major feature is because we don't treat women as equals. They're different people, they're different species, they're different to us. And so what? It must be the answer. And if it isn't, what is the answer to this? And people blame, Mary Magdalene blames the Catholic Church for the in promoting cultural misogyny in our society. And of course the Catholic Church does that. And Mary Magdalene, I think, is mistaken in thinking that this is bad theology, that Jesus wasn't misogynist. But I think it's obvious Jesus was a misogynist. And that's it. But principally, the issue of women's subordination is to do with, I believe, private property. And it arose from the agricultural revolution. Engels, I think, has gone on about this. Arose from the agricultural revolution when private property entered the sphere. And men wanted to control the sexuality of women because they wanted to ensure that their inheritance went to their child. And that was it. And on it's gone since that time. And there was probably some misogyny before then as well. But I think primarily that was it. And I think that the blind spot that so many people have about women and abortion derives from this culture of misogyny that is endemic in our society, and that it cannot accept, I cannot visualize that women in certain circumstances just can't give sustenance because their circumstances just cannot give the sustenance that the baby requires to survive. I just thought I would tell you a story about the contraception bill that went through the Dáil in 1976. And we have changed a lot, as I think this story will tell us. The Supreme Court found in 1972 in the McGee case that there was a constitutional right on the part of married couples to access to contraception, and essentially meant condoms, because the contraceptive pill was already available, which women were using en masse, claiming it was a menstrual regulator. And the Fine Gael Labour government of that time, 73 to 77, led by Liam Cosgrave, introduced the bill, and it was introduced in Dáil by the then Minister of Justice Patrick Cooney in July of 1976. And there was a heated debate in the Dáil on it, and Fianna Fáil, being the party of morality, argued this was an abomination, that it would lead to widespread debauchery, and we couldn't tolerate it, we'd turn out like England. It went to a vote in the Dáil, second reading vote in the Dáil, and it was defeated. And it was defeated because the Taoiseach of the day, Minister for Education, Minister for Defence, and some other Fine Gael TDs voted against their own government bill. And in the public gallery that